Okay, so I did my presentation on the last song. My name is Brittany Block. This is a drama and romance from 2010. It's based off of Nicholas Sparks' books. He's also wrote some of the film. It stars Miley Cyrus, Liam Hemsworth, and Greg Kinnear. Miley Cyrus plays Ronnie, who is a 17-year-old who lives with her mother. She stayed with her mother for 3 years since her father left for 3 years. So she has just been with her mother, and she was in trouble for shoplifting, and she's very passionate about sea turtles and nature and being caring towards people. Will is played by Liam Hemsworth. He is a volleyball player, and that's how they originally met. He grew up in a rich family. He works, and I think it's more volunteer for the aquarium, and he has had a lot of girlfriends in the past. And Steve is played by Kinnear, who is Ronnie's father, who he left after they divorced, and he was a Juilliard instructor, and that's what uh, Ronnie and Steve have in common is music, their love for music. Ronnie actually got into Juilliard, but she didn't want to tell her father. He is also rumored to start the church fire. Okay, so the plot. Ronnie and her little brother didn't see their dad for 3 years since their parents' divorce. Um, Ronnie was obviously upset by this, and she was rebelling and doing whatever she could to be upset and be angry. And she started shoplifting, and she actually got in trouble for shoplifting. Steve moved out to North Carolina, and he lives on a gorgeous beach house. Um, their mother believed it was time to see the father after 3 years, and because Steve also wanted to see them and requested to have them for the whole summer. So they stayed there the summer, and once they first get there, Ronnie is really not happy, giving Steve the cold shoulder and just unhappy with him for leaving them. So she went to the beach and she ran into Will. And she actually ran into Will, and he spilt a drink on her shirt, and he tried flirting with her, and she was very put offish and didn't want anything to do with that. Um, she later then saw sea turtles at her dad's house, and they were in trouble. So she called the aquarium, and he ended up coming to the house to help with the sea turtles. So that's when they first developed an interest towards each other. Um, her and Ronnie and Will had been falling in love and becoming more open and positive, and she was more happy. She kind of slowly came around to wanting to be with her dad and being open and accepting towards her dad. Um, they began to rekindle their love for music and the piano. um, there's the church fire, and everyone blamed Steve, and he even said that he was on medications, and he remembers that um, there was a candle going, and next thing he knew, he was being carried out by a fireman. So the whole town believed it was him that started the fire, but it was actually Will, his friend, and they were drunk and messing around, which ended up happening. Um, Steve later finds out or tells his children he's terminally ill. Ronnie found this out by They were out playing with the sea turtles, having such a good time, and he fell down and collapsed, and he um, what got admitted to the hospital, and she found out that way. Um, she later decided to stay the whole summer to be with her father and wanting to protect him. Um, After that summer, Will felt guilty about not telling the truth about who started the fire. So he told the truth, and Ronnie overheard, and she was very upset, and they ended up breaking up, and her father ended up passing away. And Ronnie played a special song that they shared with on the piano. And after the funeral, Will showed up and apologized for everything, and he admitted he will transfer schools for them to be together, and it ends with a passionate kiss. um, this is talking about the very beginning of the movie when they first show up, and she gives Steve the cold shoulder and just shows up and leaves. Her message was that she didn't want to be there. She was not wanting to be there with her nonverbal communication. She very put offish and didn't want to be there. Steve had a purpose to welcome Ronnie, and he acknowledged her and said, "Hey, I know you. You're my daughter." And she was just not wanting to be there. This is a previous scene where Ronnie heard about Will's ex-girlfriend was saying that he uses all these girls, takes them to the aquarium, and does the same dates for everyone. So she thought she was just one of these girls. Just another girl to him, and whatever. So Ronnie finds Will at the beach in front of her dad's house, and she storms out and yells at him and telling him to leave because he's scaring her little brother, and just wanted him to get out of there because she was not happy with him. This listening would be evaluative listening. Will is trying to persuade Ronnie that his ex-girlfriend was saying lies, saying that Ronnie wasn't just some girl to him. Ronnie was different, and he hasn't done anything to prove her wrong, and that he wanted to be with her. The internal barrier was that Ronnie was already upset, and she was mad and thought the information she was told was true. The external barrier was that they were very far away from each other and the wind was blowing, so it was hard for them to hear. And this is the scene.
What's wrong with you two?
Turtles. Turtles eat his corpse.
You need to leave, Will. You're freaking out my little brother.
How till you tell me what happened? Was it Ashley? I saw you talking to her. What did she say?
Just leave, all right, Will?
Just tell me what she said to you.
Will, I did not come here for some stupid summer romance with some stupid local boy that has done this with 1,000 other girls.
What?
Ashley told me about all the girls you've been with. So I don't want to be just the next girl in your little parade of girls, Will. Going on the same date, doing the exact same thing. I think that's why it would just be better if we just end it.
End it? End what? Ronnie, yes. Okay, I went out with other girls before I met you. But that's the point. It was before I met you. How can you be mad about that?
Will, don't you dare make this about me. You and I both know this is not my fault.
barriers could have been overcome if they moved closer to each other and continued their conversation inside. Ronnie could have thought more in depth of why the ex-girlfriend would be saying these things because they were no longer together. So obviously she was unhappy and wanted to ruin his happiness. Culture. Will comes from a very wealthy family. So the family expects the best and needs the best, and everything needs to be perfect. While Ronnie is middle class. They goofy, don't really care, but they're comfortable. And Ronnie has a friend named Blaze who is homeless. Ronnie tries to help Blaze with different things. Ronnie doesn't think of Blaze any less because she doesn't have what Ronnie has, so she doesn't think of her much differently. Ronnie went to meet Will's parents, and she had a stereotype with seeing the house and knowing that they're wealthy, knowing that they're going to be wanting perfection, and she didn't feel like she was that perfection. The family had norms for the wedding, which was that everything had to be perfect and no issues. And during the wedding, Blaze and her boyfriend show up, and he was drunk and he was causing issues, and the prejudice ended up kicking them out of the wedding and no longer welcome there anymore.
Wait for me, Marcus. I mean it.
What, you think you could just leave?
Yes, Marcus, we're done.
Look, I got your note. I didn't like it. We're done when I say we're done.
Marcus, what are you doing here?
Hey, why don't you just stay out of this, rich boy?
I want you to leave.
Will, who are these people?
Yeah, I got it. I'm not gonna ask you again.
You people just think you're so much better than me, huh?
Blaze, walk away from him.
No. You stay.
This is his sister's wedding, for God's sake.
Yeah, you're leaving. Get out of here, huh?
Suit yourself then, okay?
Hey! Get in your truck!
Huh? How about now?
All right, man.
I'm in?
All right.
Huh? I changed my mind. I don't want her. I want her. It seems like she'd be pretty fun. Have her on for the summer. Huh, William?
Yeah? Yeah? Huh?
Will! Ronnie!
Will! That's enough! Get up!
Will, just take the girl home. Both of them. Just clear out.
The verbal communication, Steve and the younger brother were going into the workshop, and they were discussing what happened at the church, and Steve said that he he was rebuilding stained glass windows, and Jonah asked if he could help. The nonverbal communication. Okay, sorry, my time went out for the last video. It was coming towards the end. So the nonverbal communication, this scene is later in the night. It's Ronnie, Blaze's boyfriend Marcus, and they're at the beach sitting around a fire, and Blaze and Marcus are kind of all over each other, kissing and whatnot, and Ronnie was just sitting there relaxing, enjoying the fire. And Marcus asked Ronnie if she would get him a drink, and Ronnie was like, well, why? Is there something wrong with your legs? And then Blaze and Marcus kind of glared at her, and Blaze said that she would go get it After Blaze left, Marcus asked why Ronnie is so boring. Ronnie said that she doesn't like to drink. And Marcus got up and sat right by Ronnie and kept trying to cuddle up to her and get closer to her after she said to stop. And he continued to touch her and get closer to her. And Ronnie was pushing him away and telling him to stop. And then he wouldn't listen to her, so she just got up and said, "Don't you ever touch me again," and just left. While Blaze was watching this entire interaction. Ronnie had the body posture, turned away from Marcus. She didn't want to be near him. Her tone of voice was serious and stern. She also didn't make any eye contact with Marcus, so she didn't want to be communicating with him. This is towards the end of the movie. She finds out that her father has cancer. She sits and talks to the doctor. Ronnie walks into Steve's room and saying that he lied to her and just all upset. I actually have the scene in the next slide.
Well, this wasn't on the calendar. Ronnie,
You lied to me, Dad.
I didn't lie.
Yes, you did, Dad. You said you were fine. You're not fine.
I didn't.
That was a lie.
I hoped. I didn't lie. It's not the same thing. It's all right to be angry.
Good. Is this why you brought me here this summer? Is it so you wouldn't have to be alone while... Why didn't you tell us?
It's not what I wanted this time to be about.
Well, it is. It is now, Daddy.
It's not. This is just another part of a terrific summer. Not one of the better parts, I admit.
Love you.
Sweetie, I love you too.
Love you, Daddy.
They are saying words. Their verbal communication is very in tune with their nonverbal communication. She was very angry when she came in, and she had her arms crossed and showed that she was upset and angry. And then her body language changed as her verbal communication did. She was just turned and wanting to be by her dad and telling him that she loves him, and went up and cuddled with him later. This scene is when Blaze is out shopping and Ronnie is out shopping and she sees Blaze, and Blaze came up behind her and put something in her bag, and as she was leaving, the alarm went off that she was shoplifting. And Blaze knew that would happen and knew that she would come in and follow her and get caught. She was playing a game. She was trying to play Ronnie and hurt her. Blaze felt hurt because she observed what Marcus and Ronnie were doing down by the fire, even though Ronnie didn't really do anything. She just felt hurt, and this is why Blaze was trying to play a game. this scene is when Steve and Ronnie are talking, and she's asking why people are talking, rumoring that Steve burned the house down, and this is before he told them he had cancer, and saying that he had new medication he was taking, and he dozed off, and that his doctor and Ronnie was really concerned and questioned him why he was taking medications and with the doctors, and Steve said he was fine, and he was trying to rush through what he was saying, and he finally said, "I'm fine," and Ronnie just stopped asking about it. He's kind of hiding the fact that he's sick and didn't want his daughter to know. He made the mistake by slipping up, saying that he was on a different medication, and that concerned Ronnie, and Steve wasn't telling the full truth by just kind of rushing through the topic. Communication. I've always been good at communication. I love doing communication. My mom's an English teacher. I did theater, and I would correlate communication and theater, but it's not always correlated. I think the biggest thing I learned through this course is that culture isn't always different race, different ethnicity, different religion. It could be different status, whether you're rich or whether you're poor. And I thought that was interesting because it could be different cultures by the way where you grow up, and you'd be in the same town, same religion, but you could grow up differently. And I thought that was pretty interesting. And these are my references.